Uh, this is for you, Philip, when you hear the recording, when it goes to Australia. Yeah, so create reasons where we can get together authentically, sometimes in person around events. So watch out for that. Renee's doing an FEM one in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be doing one around WERC as well in Salt Lake City. But additionally, to keep this very inclusive, we do as many virtual events as we can so we can connect all of your beautiful faces from all over the world and lots of different regions. So stay tuned, but we always want your feedback, your thoughts, your feelings. So if anyone's got suggestions about future opportunities or reasons where we can come together, sometimes it'll be for educational purposes, other times it can just be for a moan about life. We've done that before. So anything and everything works. And I'm now going to pass over to my glamorous host, Renee. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. So good to be here and gathering with all of you. So today we're going to be cutting our session into two pieces, and we have got a lot of content. So the first section we're going to be discussing EuRA, and the second we're going to be discussing AILA. So just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Renee Stegman. I run a relocation business on the continent of Africa, and I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa. So let's go to EuRA. So firstly, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So EuRA Relocation Conference, it's one of the leading global gatherings for the mobility and relocation industry. It is hosted annually, and they change their locations of where they choose an event, usually a warm location and then a cooler location alternating each year. And professionals come from across the globe, and it includes destination service providers, relocation management companies, immigration specialists, temporary housing. So quite a wide variety of the different sort of silos of global mobility. No corporates generally attend, although we did have one attend, I think, this year. But it's not focused on the corporates, it's focused on the service providers. So our last conference was held in Zagreb, which we're going to give you some feedback on. And in 2026, it's going to be held in Malta. And the conference creates a great, vibrant platform for learning. So there's a couple of sessions which they now don't run congruently, they run sort of as silo. So you could either have an educational, or you could be having meetings. A lot is evolved around the collaboration and networking, and they do have keynote speakers, workshops, and then lots of opportunities for networking. So this last year, or in 2025 in Zagreb, it focused, some of the topics were human experience, technology, obviously that comes to the forefront in most of our conversations these days. The importance of supply chain, which was really great to listen to that session, and then the value of partnerships were some of the key highlights that I recalled from this EuRA. So enough about that. I'm going to move on to, we have a great lineup of panelists for this. So Stuart McAllister, Yvonne Demakova, did I say that right?
Demachkova, yes, it's fine.
And Juliana Ruz. And I'd like just each of them to give you a brief introduction, and then I'll start with some questions. So how about we start with Stuart?
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, so I'm new to Paradigm. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Stuart McAllister. I own and manage a destination service provider and immigration provider headquartered in Budapest, Hungary, and covering currently 15 countries around Central and Eastern Europe. I've been a EuRA member, or my company's been a EuRA member since 2003, and my first EuRA conference was 2004. I am also a former EuRA board member, and I did a stint of being vice president or president of vice. I'm not sure, one or the other.
Thank you. Ivana.
Yeah, hello, I'm Ivona Demachkova. I'm from Slovakia. I own and run a company called Pro Relocation in Slovakia and Poland, so in two countries. My company has joined EuRA in 2004 when the company was established, and that was also my first EuRA attending in Berlin. And it's actually thanks to Stuart I learned about EuRA when we first met. You told me about the organization. And I actually this year I was elected to the board, so I'm the executive board member of EuRA. So actually, thank you for inviting me here. And I'm the member of Paradigm for third year already, but I only managed one conference. So I'm really glad I was able to book my spot at Krakow. So I'll see you all in Krakow.
Awesome. Juliana.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. For those who don't know me, Juliana Ruiz. I am Brazilian, from São Paulo, but based in Lisbon. I'm the founder of I Go Immigration Services, an immigration firm with offices in São Paulo and also in Lisbon. And I've been going to the EuRA conference since 2018. And I'm a member of Paradigm since the day one, I believe, because during the pandemic, we discussed a lot about this association, Ben, Nora, Dani, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I hope I have as many as tips as my colleagues to share with you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So just to remind the audience as well that, this is an interactive session. So if there's something you want to throw in the chat and we can, ask the panelists, we can do that. But we really want it to be interactive. So let's get into it. So I wanted to ask each of the panelists, just for if they could, from this particular Zagreb conference, give us two, let's say, key takeaways that they walked back to their businesses with from this particular conference. How about we start with you, Juliana?
Yeah, sure. For me, I would say that my takeaways is always about networking. I think the EuRA conference is really special in this sense because as we were discussing previously, we have the chance not only to see our friends, but the partners that we've been working through the years. So when you give a face for the person that you've been, partnering, it's very important. So I would say that every opportunity that you have, you should go, you should schedule meetings, you should go to the parties, to the events, even though for those who doesn't drink, or they don't like parties that much, but I think it's really important to create this connection with these people. Especially for me, I would say networking and taking all chances, to exchange. I believe that this time of the year, people are really open and willing to share, their knowledge, their expertise, the challenges that they have been facing with their own business, the things that is happening in our industry. So I would say take this, time to exchange and to, to gather everything that is possible and to improve your own practice.
Thank you. Ivana, what were your key takeaways?
My key takeaways this year was maybe not like to pick just one particular thing from the conference, but it's really our industry is changing. And I started having this intense feeling after the last year conference that was very focused on AI, but this was actually even more. I just had there's so much change happening on so many levels. So that was, I very much appreciated this. There was a session on decision making and AI, and also the supply, managing the supply chain. I thought this for me, they were the most valuable sessions. And of course, we were co-panelists at the State of the Industry session. And another takeaway, so it is, I know it's very general, but being able to participate in EuRA and being able to talk to the people who are your peers, and at the same time, people who are your customers during the time when so much is happening, is really an amazing opportunity that you should not miss. Because having the conversation, not just at the bar, but really between the sessions, being able to participate in the session, being able to actually ask the follow-up questions, and then having a conversation after the session ends on the topic that was discussed, that's really close. That is our industry that you cannot discuss with anybody else within your country, basically, or you cannot be discussed on the same level. For me, this is the most important thing. So really a lot of amazing discussions and seeing how we evolve in different countries, and yes, similar challenges, but different approaches to how we need to handle them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Ivana. Stuart, how's about for you? What did you take away from the conference?
Well, first of all, it was the first time we hosted an event. Croatia is one of the countries that we are based in, and that went ridiculously crazily. That was the craziest Monday night of my life. I think we had 160 something people there. I still haven't finished paying. No, I have finished paying for it, but it was offering 160 odd relocation people an open bar for the night was both a wonderful experience, but also ruinous. But I would, and strangely enough, I would do it again. I made some general notes about my experience. I wanted to start first of all on the environmental cost or possibly benefit of having a conference like that. I thought about 800 people all flying in from around the world to be in one place at the same time, and thought, oh my God, that's so expensive and so environmentally detrimental. But it's not, because if that didn't take place, everybody would be doing bilateral meetings all over the place and getting everybody together. And for this crazy week, and it is a week, by the way, for anybody who's not been, it is, I will fly in on Saturday and I will fly out on Saturday. And by the way, conference finishes on Thursday. On Friday, I will be a zombie. In almost literal terms, and I will not be able to fly out on Friday. In terms of educational sessions, again, I would highlight that those sessions are focused on us as providers rather than the RMC corporate client relationship. That's fine. WERC does that very well, but I always feel a little bit out of the picture when those sessions take place. The sessions I wanted to highlight, first of all, one that introduced me to Ben and Nuran, which was a DE&I session that Ben moderated and Nuran was a panelist on several years ago, off the back of which Nuran, actually the day after a Paradigm conference in Vienna, flew to Budapest, or took the train to Budapest, and gave us some in-person training for our staff on DE&I, which was brilliant. It helped me to really get ideas relating to, well, how does DE&I work for us in our community? That really, really helped us enormously. I hope we can do something like that again in the future. And then this year's session for me was the Ignite session. I have done an Ignite presentation before. I found it very limiting. I don't like that 5-minute strict format, but it worked really, really well. And with the human aspect, go on, Renee, sorry.
You might want to explain what the Ignite is a little bit, because some people...
sorry. For those of you who don't know, Ignite is I think 20 slides, each slide advancing after 15 seconds, and it's 5 minutes fixed presentation format. And there has been a history now going back, I think, almost 10 years of EuRA having an Ignite session where several people volunteer to speak. This year was very special in terms of human experience, because at least 2 people stood up and shared very, very traumatic experiences in their life, whether it was relating to their own mental health and well-being, or the loss of a spouse and how they handled that trauma. And for me, it was a wonderful example of how, even though you're in a room of, maybe there were 250, 300 people in that session, it was like 300 friends that you could open up that much in. And the thing that EuRA manages to achieve, which WERC absolutely does not, is an intimacy, a friendship, even though it's a group of 800 people. I'm not being paid for this advertisement, by the way, but I'm a massive fan.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Stuart. And I mean, it really does highlight the sort of relational context of EuRA and how important that is. And coming, one of the things that people often say is like, sort of, why do you go to EuRA if, for example, you don't attend any of the sessions, which you can clearly hear we all do try and attend the sessions. but I think the networking is definitely one of the most important aspects of EuRA. So talking about networking, I wanted to come to Juliana and ask, in terms of networking, what did you find valuable in terms of either, for a first timer or a long time attendee? We discussed this briefly on our sort of our previous call. What did you find the most valuable from a networking perspective?
This is a very interesting question, in my opinion, because after not so many years, but a couple of years, you could thought that eventually going again, to see mostly the same people, just in a different environment, wouldn't be necessary, But in the end of the day, this is not the case, definitely. I think it's as a newcomer now, EuRA, they have the newcomer sessions, which is very interesting. They changed it a couple of years ago. So you have a session where you go and you can connect with people on the same page, in the same situation. So I would say to take this opportunity to connect to these people, to relate to someone, to have to exchange experiences, your thoughts, the challenges, the difficulties that you're facing, because we know that, especially in the beginning, it can be really, really overwhelming, because it's a lot of information, a lot of people. You don't know exactly how to behave, how do you schedule, the meetings, who are the faces. So it can be challenging in this beginning, but I would say that you should take all these opportunities, to get to know these people. So probably you're going to be invited to go to parties or for dinners. And this is not only, going to a party or having fun. This is not the purpose. In the end of the day, we are always making new connections, new partnerships. I believe these moments where we are vulnerable, we really connect, with people. So it is when you get the chance to know the other, if they have children, what they are doing in their own life, the sports that they practice, what, their preferences. And I think this is the moment that you genuinely, connect with the person. And then, of course, you see there are synergy, and there are always, business that can happen. So this is for the newcomers, and also to take the chance to schedule meetings as much as possible. This is what I did when I went for the first time. I had 40 or 45 meetings. It was insane, but I had the chance, to know as many people as possible. And of course, over the years, you not necessarily need to do this insane thing again. The partners that you wanna meet, because you have a business going with this partner, or the RMCs, or you can be more strategic in that sense. But of course, I believe there's always opportunity, even though with those that that you knew in the past, to create a new thing, because we never know. Eventually, that time of the year, you have a new project that is going to be in Brazil or in Portugal, and you didn't even remember that you have, I have Juliana, she's someone that I trust, that that I feel the synergy. So let's connect, let's see how it goes. So this would be my, my main tips for your first time.
And I think, Juliana, I can't remember if they changed the EuRA sort of conference badging, where they actually highlight if you're a newcomer, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly. So yeah, now we have different colors. I can't remember exactly the colors, but if you are going for the first time, I think you are green, and then you become blue. And if you are a speaker, you have special badge for that. So now they are differentiating the badge. So this is also easier, for those that are going for the first time, especially because I think now people, they try to approach the newcomers, and to embrace them and try to make them, feel part of the community. So I think this is also helpful.
Yeah, that's really great feedback. Ivana, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned AI and technology and tools, and we were on the panel together in terms of trends and that sort of thing. So maybe just to give everyone a little bit of a taster of maybe, some of the innovations that you found, interesting, or some of the hurdles in terms of some of the geopolitical things that we're all facing, but maybe just give everyone a little bit of a flavor of future outlook for our...
Well, I would not dare to be so, so daring in predictions. But I think attending the EuRA and also the panels that we either, participated in or we were able to see, it really gives you a perspective. And sometimes, especially when you are from a smaller company, like my company is not huge, maybe your resources for implementation of technology is limited, or maybe you realize how many limitations in terms of GDPR there are when you want to implement AI in particular. It is very interesting to see how far certain companies already are with implementation. And of course, maybe they have extra resources. So yes, definitely there is a future. But at the same time, you have people sitting in the room who might be a little bit more beginning at their journey, maybe not so with so many resources. Maybe they need to use standardized solutions. At the same time, you have opportunity, and you always have opportunity to meet the suppliers of those solutions. There are multiple tech companies who are selling. It's always, for me, I actually, every single time I go to EuRA, I try to schedule a meeting with them just to see how their technology has progressed and where we are comparing to them, what could be implemented, but just to keep an eye what's available. Because just the fact that they make an effort and come and present themselves and have time to sit down with you and show you their solution is very helpful. In terms of my takeaway, I feel it's almost like technology. It's a given right now. Nobody is assuming you don't have it. What will definitely make a difference going forward, how amazing we're going to be in the customer experience. That's my perspective in the service delivery. And yes, the human cannot be taken away, but everything else that is repetitive and that basically you can apply robot, we will need to make sure that takes place because it will be about the cost efficiency eventually. Because our time will be the most valuable, us creating the customer experience. In my perspective, this will be valuable, and everything else that can be activated, it will be our role to automate it actually. Yeah. So it's good to see the people on the stage really sharing a lot from their own kitchens, how they approach it. And sometimes you feel like, wow, like I wish I had that. I don't have that yet. When somebody already implemented it, it's like their, bread and butter. This is what they do every day without even thinking about it. So it can feel actually a little bit overwhelming when you're, again, smaller. Maybe you're just starting in the business. You should still feel welcome to come. Because at least you see the opportunity is there and somebody is willing to share it with you. And it's completely okay. You have large companies, you have small companies, but still after every single year, I feel that there's a feeling of this togetherness, the willingness to share. And it doesn't matter whether you are going to be my supplier or maybe you're not going to be my supplier. Maybe we're going to give business to each other. There's always opportunity for exchanging knowledge. That's always my impression. There are some people I meet only at EuRA once a year, and I've been meeting them for years, and I'm always curious to hear what's happening in their business and how they're progressing.
That's great, Ivana. And it actually brings me to my question for Stuart. In terms of collaboration, I think, it's such a meaningful place to collaborate, but also it's quite complex because there's lots of immigration people, there's temporary housing, there's relocation companies, there's RMCs. So Stuart, maybe just in terms of some of the opportunities for collaboration at EuRA, how do you find the collaboration? Is it very easy to collaborate, or is it quite difficult to collaborate with various of those different silos or customers?
I mean, EuRA has developed separate days for temp housing and immigration. I think it's a double-edged sword that to separate those out from sort of DSP world, it almost seems a little sort of segregated. But on the other hand, not everybody, a company like ours that does both immigration and destination services, I have my foot in both, both lanes, but not many people do not. So I think that it makes sense to give a specified, time allotted to temp housing. That's not something that we do, and then also to immigration as well. So I think EuRA have done well in that regard. I mean, the thought that was in terms of collaboration and maybe a perception from somebody who's new is also the globality of EuRA. When I was a board member, I did a thing where we developed called EuRA Global, because more than 50% of EuRA's membership doesn't have its headquarters in Europe. They may have a European location, but they're not Europe-based organizations. And so for me, the global collaboration, as Ivona was saying, that there are people that I meet there once a year. I may see them at WERC, but probably not. That we all get together, we meet and we talk and we exchange ideas. And there was another anecdotal conversation, Juliana, not that long ago, you were attending pregnant. I mean, and therefore alcohol was off the table for a while. And I was at WERC in Singapore earlier this year, and Lily Hang we had a chat over a beer actually with her future replacement, whose name escapes me, but she is much younger. She is a practicing Muslim, and she was like, well, how is it? I don't drink alcohol. How am I going to integrate? And I think that the world is changing. The future is changing. Alcohol providers are rushing to make non-alcoholic versions of their drinks. So the idea that you don't drink, therefore somehow you'll be left out of the responsible drinking part is ridiculous. And I mean, other than the fact that around midnight everybody else might start to look a bit stupid. I don't know. I do drink responsibly, but I love the way that it's becoming far more inclusive for those people who don't participate in the alcohol, and that's sending us into Smokers' Corner used to be a big place. Very few people smoke anymore, and that's, if you choose to do that, that's fine. But it used to be a big social thing. I don't smoke anymore, and I've seen that it's far less of a social activity, and I embrace the idea that alcohol might change. Alcoholic consumption as a function of our networking might also change as the future comes.
Maybe we'll start being collaborative around a morning run, Stuart, or something more healthy.
Ooh, I wouldn't go so far, but yeah, okay, no, yeah, sure.
Thank you very much to all three of you. It's been really great hearing, your views of EuRA. And by the way, EuRA is open for bookings, not to sell them, but places do go really fast if you are intending to go. They have opened on the 22nd of September, and I know they are probably going to sell out quite fast. So a little bit like the Paradigm conference that is sold out, and some of us didn't get our seats. So let's move on to the AILA crew. So part of the panel is you, Shibata, Audrey Listgarten, Daniela Lima. And just to give you a little bit of background, and you'll hear why the context is important, is that the American Immigration Law Association conference, it matters because it provides a great opportunity for immigration law professionals to get together. They talk about cutting edge legal education, networking with peers, building relationships, learning about the latest strategies and tools in dynamic and collaborative environments. I believe they don't have as much of a networking, well, they do have networking, but it's more around the sessions as opposed to the appointment setting like the EuRA, but we can get into that a bit more. And then the conference offers what they call extensive CLE, which I learned was continued legal education, eligible sessions. So I guess you get points. Maybe Audrey or someone can explain that to me. And they obviously discuss law topics alongside. They have exhibitors and solution providers. So with that, I'm going to allow everybody, so perhaps we can start with you to give a little introduction to yourselves, and we'll just go around to the other two panelists.
Hi everyone, my name is Yu Shibata. I am Japanese, but I'm based in Milan, Italy, and my practice focuses mainly on EU law and Italian inbound immigration. And I joined Paradigm since the beginning. I'm one of the co-founders, but I haven't been very active. And I joined AILA last year, but I have been participating in the European conference that was organized together with Paradigm since the beginning. So yes, that's it.
Audrey.
Hi, I'm Audrey Lustgarten. I'm a US licensed attorney, but just practice basically global immigration coordination for corporate clients. I'm one of the Paradigm co-founders as well, so I've been here since the very beginning, before we even had a name. And I've been a member of AILA, gosh, I don't know, maybe 15 years now. Also a very long time, right, kind of in the beginning as the AILA Global Migration section, which is the portion of AILA that deals with things outside the US, shortly after that was formed.
Awesome. Thanks, Audrey. Daniela.
Hi, I'm also from São Paulo, like you. But I'm still live here. I'm living in São Paulo, Brazil. Wow, I was trying to remember exactly the first AILA conference that I went, but I think that it was in 2005. I would like to give a couple of context here. When I heard from AILA the first time, my intention to go to AILA, it was not to party, as you all know that I love, and or connection, that I also do love to make connection, but it was about to learn, because I was feeling very isolated in Brazil. I'm a attorney here, licensed in Brazil. So when I joined at AILA, at that time, you were able to join as an international member, and you have to send your bar, people refer you. So it's like a process for you be like a member. We still need to present our bar that we're in a good standard with the bar to like renew the association, right? But my intention when I heard, because I was doing some research where I could learn more how the things works in other parts of the world. And when I went to AILA the first time, it was like, I was shocked because it was like immense, like 3,000 US attorneys, because the global part, it was like connected with the AILA National. It's not like we have GMS now, that's the global session of AILA. It used to be everything together. I was like almost crying. I was hiding myself on the bathroom and say what I'm doing here, because it was like intensive, a lot of people, and most of them were like US attorneys, very well dressed and very formal. And I said, oh my gosh, what I'm doing here. So it was like after 2-3 days, like shocked and hide myself on the bathroom, I said, okay, I'm paying dollars. I need to connect with people, listen what I'm doing here. So the first AILA, I was counting the days to back and say, this is not for me. I can do this again. But I did next year. So I was recognize other faces and try to find myself. And I heard that from Maria Salevi and Roland Leshner, they said, I remember, we're going to have a breakfast tomorrow because we'd like to have a global session. I said, yes, nice, let's do a global session. And so this is how it was founded. And it was very interesting to see how this changes. So it's a group, it's still GMS in place, and I volunteer myself many times to be on the committee, membership association. So I worked a lot with Audrey on the committees. Audrey was also a volunteer for other committees. We worked together to put the program, but I was more working on the membership. And years later, I saw that AILA was backing to concentrate nobody like formalized this, but we understood that they were focused much more on AILA National and it's not supporting, but not promoting the international part. And I was missing that, right? So Ben contacted me. I'm just back in from Italy. I had an interesting conversation with Marco, and I'm thinking about to have this group. I mean, everything that was like to grow, and he was talking with Audrey that I know for years, and the others. So I was also one of the co-founders of Paradigm, and I think that what it was like made me, yes, let's go for it, and resonate to me. It was like be more inclusive that AILA, because I'm attorney. I feel like I can fit there, but I see that if we're not attorney or do not work for a law firms, that's fine if we're not attorney, but not be on the law part of the business. It's not that we're not welcome. People are super nice there. A lot of people, it's here. You are welcome, but not for the terms of the business. And you need to see the name, America International Law Association. Okay. I've just really like reinforced this because I see that, like I was shocked at the first conference. I see that people is frustrated when they go to the conference like AILA and expecting things like EuRA that people, if we're a lawyer, probably were not welcome. It's on the other way. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to be this professional, that professional. If we're in the industry, that's it, right? So AILA, it's different in this sense. So yeah, but
Is that like Danny, is that like a warning to all of us? Like, unless you're an American immigration lawyer, maybe going to be tough to find your little place.
No, I think that if we're international and you go for the JMS, you're going to find your place. This is what we have this session. But I think that I see a small reload company, and I said that on our prep call. I think that I can share this. I remember because like, especially in Latin America, go to US, it's very, very expensive in terms of the money, right? Because the money in some pesos is like, if compare with dollar, it's 5, 6, 7 times more. So you pay your flight, you pay your registration, nothing, it's cheap. And you think that people are gonna hire you in these small countries, you being a reload company, that's not gonna happen. You know, I think that you need to target very well what you were looking for, and sometimes people doesn't know what's happened now. This is why I think that this kind of meetings here is super important, and I think that the connections that we have here, sometimes thinking about to go for one conference, another conference, we can reach out to each other and see how was this conference for you, what do you learn at, do you think that makes the effort. I remember you called me a couple of times to ask about AILA or IBA or other conference, and I have been very honest what you can get at when you invest, right? But do not misunderstood what I'm saying. AILA GMS people are super nice people and welcome. I'm just giving the contest, right?
And I think it's also important, just for the people that don't know, to step back and like explain AILA and AILA GMS, because I think not everybody knows that. So AILA is the American Immigration Lawyers Association. They have, I think, like 20,000 members or something. And the conference is thousands and thousands of people. They have different conferences throughout the year for the US lawyers. Their biggest conference is what they call the annual conference. It's usually held in June each year. That is targeted at US lawyers, because I have had global colleagues and people like kind of accidentally wander into that. That is not terribly helpful unless you are looking to become a US immigration lawyer. I mean, you can have some networking there, but really for people who are members of Paradigm that are not US immigration lawyers, the AILA Global Migration section, which is like a division of AILA that is focused specifically on global, which in their terminology means non-US destinations. And so that's a conference that is usually held adjacent to the big, huge annual conference with all those thousands of people, like Danny was saying, that's a bit overwhelming and intimidating. GMS conference is held usually just before or just after the annual conference. It's much smaller. It's a couple of hundred people. For the most part, everyone who comes into that has a concept that there is immigration outside of the United States, that people might have immigration needs in other countries. They're going to be kind of speaking your language, as opposed to the super US-centric annual conference, which, to be fair, it is the American Immigration Lawyers Association that you are attending, so it will be US-centric on that side in terms of the big conference. But GMS is much smaller, I think much more accessible to folks outside the US, but it is still going to be immigration-centric. And I think that's an important point you made, Danny, the sessions will be about immigration. The people there will be interested in immigration. They won't be familiar with relocation concepts, with housing, with transportation, with real estate, with all of the kind of other services that might go along with an international move. Those just don't come up. So I think it's really best. It's good for, if your company, offers immigration services, potentially good. Small warning there, in the US, only lawyers are allowed to do immigration work for the most part. So that will be the lens through which the US lawyers who are there will be looking. So if you are a company that provides immigration services and you have a lawyer on staff that does them, that would be something to highlight, because that will be valuable in the mindset of the typical US attendee of this conference. Or if you have a service that might be, tie into a need that they have in terms of processing immigration cases. So I'm thinking of Inigo with Bicortex, translations, legalizations, apostilles, document procurement. Lawyers at AILA need help with that. They don't know where to look. So something like that can provide support in an immigration, things that you would need to file an immigration case, basically, are also really appealing, and that would be a good fit. But, I think to be transparent, if you're offering, relocation services, housing, transport, things like that, it might not be the best fit.
Yeah.
Ben, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just curious, only because I met with Chris earlier, but what about someone like Chris Gore, tax professionals? Because there's always a need for that.
Yeah, I think there is a need. I mean, usually when clients are coming to their US lawyer and asking for some sort of help outside the US, they're looking for either immigration filings or maybe employment or tax, because those things are very tightly connected. And a lot of firms that offer US immigration services would also do US tax or US employment if they're more of the full service. So I think there is kind of a concept of those things going together. And I think there would be some value to international tax providers attending also.
So I'm just very aware of time, and Nuran's just sent me a note to finish at 25 past so we can get some questions. So I'm going to quickly, if we can try and keep maybe the answers a bit succinct here, but ask you, I'm going to start with you, just in terms of some of the content, at AILA. What compliance challenges are becoming more pressing? And we spoke a little bit at our prep call around citizenship and that sort of thing.
Yes, well, generally speaking, I think we can all agree that immigration processes and, of course, citizenship processes as well are becoming more complex overall. And well, I can only speak about the Italian context because this is my focus. I exclusively focus on Italian immigration. But from my side, in the last AILA conference, I was in the citizenship panel where we discussed the latest developments of citizenship law in the US, in Canada, Portugal, and Italy. And the trend was quite clear, which is obtaining a second citizenship is becoming harder and increasingly complex. And in Italy specifically, we had a major reform this year, especially in at the end of March, April, and then May was a really, really difficult time for us because the law changed completely. And of course, I won't go into details today, but something that is very interesting, and I think that what it's quite interesting for immigration or global mobility practitioner is the concept of genuine link. Because in Europe, we are starting to, speaking about or talking about when someone applies for a citizenship, the genuine link part between this individual and a country has to be ensured. And again, it's for the Italian side, the Italian government actually explained this behind it said that behind the reform of the 2025, the genuine link aspect was a key part. And another important example is the judgment of the European Court of Justice that issued. It was a judgment basically against the Maltese citizenship by investment program, and it basically said that the program does not provide enough evidence of genuine link, so the Maltese law will have to adjust it better to the European context. So this is not just like an abstract concept, but it is gaining ground in Europe, and I think that's quite interesting. Of course, I don't want to be like alarming. Like the genuine link part is, but the concept of genuine link is becoming a trend in Europe. But it's something that we hear more often, and also each member states of the European Union are starting to taking into account for the nationality law. So that would be basically for the European aspect. And about globally speaking, as I said before, I do not practice global, so I cannot speak in details on this. But earlier today, I was discussing with Jorge, who's in this call as well, and he was explaining to me that very interesting. He explained to me that Argentina and some Caribbean islands are making more accessible the nationality, and especially on nationality through investments. And on the contrary, Chile, for example, who is also in South America, is restricting the nationality processes. So it is very interesting. I don't think there's like specific trends on nationality, but if we speak about the European nationality, especially those of the European Union, it is becoming stricter, and I don't think it will get any easier.
Wow, thanks you. Audrey, could you give us just some highlights, perhaps on the AI again and technology, and maybe on a panel, right, with some others, and perhaps what debates were aired at the conference?
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep it brief so we don't get in trouble with Neuron. So I was on the AI panel at AILA GMS this year, and I think it just came out that it's a very contentious topic, and I don't think that's just in the immigration or in the global mobility context. Like there was some heated discussion. There was one woman in particular that got up and started to yell at us. One of my fellow panelists was engaging with her. I was trying to de-escalate the situation, but basically there were a lot of strong feelings around I think the fear really that AI might replace some of us or some of our staff. Might replace the human element in global mobility. And this person that was really upset was taking issue with the fact that, we were talking about it and talking about, how you can learn more about it and how you can integrate it into your practice. And they really wanted us to be fighting back against it. I honestly think it's a bit late for that. And we have to just see, how best we can use it while also encouraging, reasonable safeguards. But it's definitely, AILA GMS is not afraid of covering contentious, hot topics. And you know, things that go outside the bounds of immigration law, even in terms of the sessions. But you are very right, and I'll agree with Danny that it's very different from EuRA in that people are there to attend the sessions. Nobody schedules meetings in advance, like those 42 meetings that you scheduled. If you came to GMS and did that, people would be like, what's happening? People might schedule to meet up for, you know, a coffee or lunch or, you know, during a coffee break of the sessions, but most people are actually going and sitting through the sessions and getting those. For lawyers, they like the CLE credits Renee mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And they do put a lot of efforts to build a good program. You really can learn from they select pretty well the speakers. I think it's another goal. Yeah, and I have seen lawyers being very vocal and disagreeing and make comments, but that part, Audrey, I was shocked at. I was like,
it's not usually like that. It's not usually like that.
No, usually no. Usually are vocal, strong opinions, but that one was like, wow, yeah. And I think that's my turn. Sorry to interrupt you, really.
No, go. And Nuran, I mean, I don't know if we've got, Danny, if you can give us a little overview, maybe.
Danny has 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yes, 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. No, I think
carry on. It's fine.
But I would just like to make one comment about the citizenship. I think that it was interesting to see that every year it's people talking more and more about this, because people is looking for second or third citizenship, and there are a lot of places that you can invest the money and get it, and others, of course, that's not so easy. But it's becoming definitely a hot topic to discuss. And in Latin in general, this is very close to the political scenario. When you have people that's more like pro-business and open, so they give more the citizenship for foreigners. When we have someone on the government, let's protect it. Let's protect the country. We're against foreign. So so promote. It's all about the policies. So just 2 comments. And I think that one thing that I saw more comments at the last AILA conference was about the merger and acquisition. So there are a couple of another hot topic, people talking about, okay, I'm going to merger, my clients are going to merger. What is going to happen now? And there are 3 different scenarios, basically. When you have a stock deal or asset deal. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to go for the different scenarios, but basically, or a spin-off. So how this change the policy for my clients, or what I can do to make them working properly or with the right type of visa. And also a lot of discussions because of the political situation in the US, like we saw the recently changed, right? So if I can get at my H-1B people here, what I'm gonna do, where I can park. This is, again, it's not new, something that have been discussed, but again, another hot topic about this. So of course they were mentioned a lot, Canada and Mexico as options, because it's all North America, but a couple of places in Latin, but language is difficult. So we need to see the scenario, and unfortunately we don't have time now to cover these. But this is what I see, a lot of discussions in different topics. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna share up.
Danny, thanks. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And hopefully, are there any questions, Nuran, that anyone has in the chat? I haven't managed to look at the chat.
We've had some lovely comments, but I haven't seen any questions, so we can open the floor. I just wanted to allow a few minutes so we have such a lovely group of people together from literally every corner of the universe. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for comments, chat, or questions.
Or even if anyone here would like to discuss anything about specific these conferences or anything that we mentioned here, I'm happy to set up another time for a Teams call.
Like if you're thinking about attending and you're not sure if it's a fit, like also happy to chat.
Great, yeah.
I'll ask a question then. You are a kind of boutique business owner, you're looking to grow your business, you have to be quite entrepreneurial. Which of the two conferences, you've only got $5,000 to spend on attending conferences. Which of the two conferences do you put your money going to?
Are you saying you're a boutique immigration?
Ah, well, good point. I don't know. Global mobility professional, and so you could do immigration if you, let's say you can offer immigration, but you're quite entrepreneurial. I think there's a few independent business owners on this call, or people that are growing their business.
Ben, I will answer like for other people that I'm using a lot Ju as example
exactly.
now, but I remember like when Ju started to
Yeah.
reach out to me, Danny, what do you think that I should do? I said in for her case, EuRA was the number one because she was doing destination and immigration. And I think that it was my recommendation to her, start with EuRA. But I think that at least once you need to go for the ERC, at least for you be shocked like I was at the AILA first time. Wow, this is a big industry, moving and pets and things that you never think when you are sitting doing your day-to-day business. So you have, I'm not saying for you to go to the ERC every year, but I think that once for you understand how big this is industry, how things operate. So I would say first EuRA, second ERC, but not ERC not every year. But if you are an immigration lawyer, you need to go for AILA at least for once, or IBA. IBA happens every 2 years in London. The IBA is specifically for immigration. Let me use this opportunity to
Not the
explain.
big
Like
one,
Audrey,
yeah.
like
You'll
Audrey
really
was
freak
explained.
out, like
AILA
10,000 people.
National and GMS, so kind of the same. Like it's IBA huge. We have like labor law, tax law, merger, it's immense. But you have the National Immigration National Committee that plans every 2 years in London. So if you practice immigration, I think that you need to go to IBA. So, and I think that ideally for you getting the sense and learn, you need to try one of each. But I think that if for a small and boutique, I would say EuRA first, if you need to pick up one. Because Paradigm, I do love Paradigm, I'm one of the co-founders, but because we're still very small, to be really honest, I don't know if you get at business if you go for one Paradigm. I think that from EuRA, maybe you can get a business and you can get it more just because it's bigger.
I think Charlotte's got her hand up.
Yeah, actually, it was sort of more of a comment in relation to sort of some of the stuff that's been said, but also thank you, Danny, for that. That's kind of useful advice. I was just, something that struck me this week, and it sort of ties in the whole citizenship thing too, is I keep forgetting like that people need an ETA to enter the UK, and then we've got that happening across Europe soon as well, which I think is really going to change the landscape. And also just the fact that people who have dual citizenship need to keep their passports up to date if they have, for example, a British passport, which they're not used to keeping up to date, or maybe as we have it for Europe, from one of the European countries. So yeah, just the conversation made me think of that. So I just thought I'd share. It could be a conversation. It could be a panel for the next Paradigm conference.
Definitely. Yes, I think that's a good topic.
That's actually one of the themes of an event I'm organising on Thursday, Charlotte, with the UK Home Office around the digitisation piece. So if I learn anything of interest, I will happily share with the Paradigm community.
If I just add a comment is, I think, the longer you're in this industry and the sort of certain conferences you go to regularly, I find it's important to mix it up a little bit. So, I think Nuran, it may lead to what we're putting together in terms of a calendar of, different events happening, all over, and we might sort of crowdsource to try and get everybody's input. But I do think as a business owner myself sometimes it's important to go to smaller, bigger, because as Stuart was saying earlier, you know, some of the smaller ones, you get a little bit of a different exposure and more meaningful conversations than sometimes the bigger ones. So, you know, my recommendation is, you know, go to the important ones in the beginning, but then also as you go and grow, just mix it up a bit as well, because I think that's also important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could even put together like a spreadsheet of like, what is this conference best for? Like being one of the fields, like, oh, if I'm an immigration provider, it's this one. Oh, if I'm relo provider, it's that one. If I'm got I cover multiple jurisdictions, does that change it? Kind of a directory.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Thanks for giving us more work to do, Audrey.
I was just going to say that sounds like
happy to contribute to it. Just an idea.
No, it's great actually, because each one has kind of USP. So maybe that's a great thing, that something that Gather can do some more work on.
And I love a shout out to Gather for putting together like little groups to meet up at these things, because the conferences can be really big and overwhelming. But if you meet up with like 8 Paradigm people who are going, I feel like that makes it a little less.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's going to Weird or Wonderful conferences as well, that's what the WhatsApp's group for. So if anyone has got, like, there's a HR tech one happening in Germany, which is a bit more niche and boutique, but anything wild and wonderful, within reason.
Yeah.
But put it in the WhatsApp group, and if we can arrange a meetup around it in the city, we'll do our best to facilitate.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a brilliant turnout. Huge thanks, Renee. It's been a fabulous discussion. And to all our panelists as well. I think we've all learnt. I'm going to copy Jorge. And we've all learnt so much. Hopefully we'll keep these going. And any obviously ideas and suggestions about more discussions, send them over to us. But thank you. And hopefully see you all again really soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.